Hello everyone, so today we have Wars 7 and 8 of Season 35, and this first war, I actually skipped. I forgot to record the first fight. It was another Angela versus Void. It went the same way they always go. Angela versus Void on Hazard Shift. No problem at all. Really enjoying Angela. Really think she's going to be my next R4. So here we have Magneto versus Stryfe. Stryfe is a pretty good placement here. He's just a weird defender. I've also seen like Korg here. I think we had that last war. And, you know, it's a pretty decent placement. But Magneto just shuts it down. It's going to be interesting next season. I think Magneto's going to get banned more. Apocalypse is going to get banned more. Spidey 2099 is going to get banned more. We'll see. It'll be interesting next season. But this season, yeah, I have my Magneto, and we'll just let this play out, get the SP3 and end it. Cool, so next fight, we're back to Angela. This one is Overseer. Overseer is a decent placement here in my opinion, because he brings the auto block into play, but you gotta have a better counter for Angela on this lane if you want me to not use Angela for the whole thing. So Overseer has obviously his Hazard Shift, his Feet of Indestructible. He's got he's just got a lot going on, but he has his auto block, he has all those things, but as long as I have 4 buffs on me, he will not auto block. I only have 2 Odin pre-fights on me this particular war. That's because the other, the shock resistance was going to be used for someone else on a different fight. So I only have those 2, which means it's a little bit riskier than it would otherwise have been. And you'll actually see that come into play in a little bit. Trying to get Overseer to throw that special. Come on. So right now I have 4 buffs. I'm trying to remember. I feel like it dropped down to 3. Yeah. Nope. Okay, maybe it didn't. When I was taking the fight, I thought it dropped down to 3 at some point, and so I actually got a little scared that he might auto block, but it looks like I was wrong, and I stayed above at 4 or higher the entire war. So, no problem there. I actually threw 10 Sig Stones into Angela for this war just to get her from slightly under 25% to slightly over 25%. So Angela is now Sig 110. This fight I was not worried about, so I dropped my pre-fight on the EMP modification to make that an even safer fight for the person taking it, and then Magneto's gonna come over here and just sort of wreck Mysterio. Mysterio's not a bad placement here. He's kind of annoying, but because, once again, Magneto can just shut everything down. I'm just trying to play the strike counter, and I was at one point thinking, you know, if I keep him concussed, if I keep the armor break on him, I can keep my magnetized on, and I can reduce his ability accuracy, but it really just wasn't worth it, and I eventually just decided it was easier to try to, it was just easier to try to get to a special 1 and bleed him, use the shrapnel bleeds, and just do as much damage as I can. You can see I really don't care all that much about the strike counter. Mysterio is not strong enough by himself to actually do any damage. Yeah. Sorry, Mysterio. You're just not a very good defender. At least not when Magneto's in the game. So this last fight was Modok on strike counter block penetration, which I think is actually a good placement. He's kind of annoying, and he's a champ that you really kind of want to parry heavy, but on this node with strike counter, you don't really want to do parry very heavy. But I actually have three good counters on this team for him. I was really debating, do I want to go with Angela and shut down the auto block using her signature ability, or do I want to shut it down with Magneto, who can't be auto blocked by middle champions? I decided to go with Magneto just because I figured it was the safest. And I'm honestly glad I did, because I did not play this fight terribly well. Modok is one of those champs that, like, I don't know, that SP1, for some reason, I'll like try to dex it and I'll end up getting hit by it in sort of surprising ways every time. But in this fight, he has no way of shutting down all these shrapnel bleeds that are going to be incoming, and he's just going to get wrecked. That's what I'm talking about. I feel like I tried to block that one or dex that one. I don't remember what I tried to do, but that obviously didn't go well, and it could have ended badly. It didn't. So, thanks, Magneto. So this is now the next war. That was the end of that war. Angela just really can't take fights on Boss Island, so I'm just not getting Boss Island fights with my Angela team. In this war, I actually did get a boss fight assigned to me, or a mini boss fight, and then it got taken away. So here we have Apocalypse. I did bring Cable on the team. I am firmly of the opinion that Apocalypse does not need Cable on the team. However, the officers in my alliance are firmly of the opinion that he does need Cable on the team. In addition, Cable's actually going to take one of these fights, so it really doesn't matter whether he's needed or not. So the approach here for Spiderham is to just bait SP1s and throw my SP1 as soon as I get it. You only build spider nonsense, which is the thing that makes Spiderham annoying, is spider nonsense. You only build spider nonsense when you have above 1 bar of power. So as long as you just dump that bar of power as soon as you can, as often as you can, this fight is not a challenge. You saw the other day I did thoroughly screw this up. Well, I had to run, but I did mess up a Spiderham fight. But in this one where I am fully focused, he just can't take those specials from Apoc. I remember thinking, like, do I want to let him evade and build up some evade charges? But I don't, because there's no other evaders on my lane. So once again, we have Kingpin here. Once again, Apoc is fully ramped. We are going into this Apoc fight with Kingpin. And this is a regeneration node that honestly does not matter. It's just Kingpin, and you can bait SP1s and keep going. Nice thing here is I do get to throw my SP1s and my SP2s, so I can get the really big damage. But this is Masochism, and Masochism doesn't matter for Apocalypse. And Kingpin, I guess the one thing about this fight is because he won't be purifying debuffs, he will get some very significant combat power. You can see he gains, just from one combo, he gained almost a full bar of power there. But what's he gonna do if Apocalypse just ends it in 40 hits? I think this is, I guess it must be boosted a little bit, but it's not very boosted. And Kingpin did a whopping 4% damage, actually. Between Spiderham and Kingpin, they did very, very little damage. So the next fight, I screwed up so badly, and I did not know what I was doing when I decided to take this fight. I was assigned it, and they said, Nebula, Apocalypse, go, right? I know that there is Bubble Shield here, and I know that there is EMP modification. I know all of the nodes. I know that there is Burden of Might. I know all of these things. That does not mean I played it well. So Burden of Might is keeping me from gaining power, even though I did Dex a bunch. So the way you should play this is to Dex a bunch at the beginning, Dex hit, Dex hit, Dex hit, letting yourself stay low at a bar of power, and then every time he throws a special, probably a special 1 if you're being smart, you will dump all of your, you'll get 20 charges, and you parry, dump that over, and eventually if you can get to an SP2, you get to an SP2. If not, you just keep throwing SP1s and keep him from throwing a special if at all possible. That is not what I did here. Right here, I let him get to 18 charges, and right here, if I had parried there, this would have been fine. But 1, 2, 3, took off the indestructible charge, and bad crit RNG on the end took me out. I think what actually happened there is, with the indestructible charge, you don't take any damage from the actual hit, but Apocalypse's secondary damage was still doing significant amounts of damage to me, partially because of Aspect of Evolution. It was unfortunate that crit at the end, I think that's ultimately what killed me. But if I were to take this fight again, I would play it very, very differently. Basically just baiting out SP1s, taking 2 hits on the block, dexing the last one, and if I have to avoid the Bubble Shield, and never going to SP2. The thing about the SP2 is I'm like 98% sure I can fully dex the whole thing. But 98% sure is not 100% sure, and so I thought, what if I just dex the 3rd hit, and then I'll be fine. In any case, I think the concussion might have failed one of my indestructibles and then screwed something up. It was a bad situation. Anyway, I died. Lesson learned, if someone assigns you a fight that you're not sure how to take, ask. They showed me a video, and it was very obvious that I had done that completely wrong. So here's my cable fight. So this is Buffet over time. So there's a chance that Modok will go unblockable if you proc too many buffs, but we're not going to proc that many buffs because we're just going to be parrying and heavying this whole fight. Parry, heavy, parry, heavy. So you can see I've drawn 3 heavies now. In this, I'm only planning to try to dex that SP1 if I have a regeneration of buff up. I don't know what happened there. I'll blame the game, blame my skills, I don't know. But there's not a... When you can just sit there and parry heavy with Cable, those 10 degens are going to do quite a bit of damage. So that's a rank 3 Cable, and took care of business. My last fight here is Nebula again, Power Start 1 versus a rank 4 Nimrod here. Now, this was kind of funny because I talked about my plan because I had screwed up already with Nebula. So I said, okay, I'm going to do a Power Start 2, and they pointed out make sure that you have 2 bars of power before you start charging up and before you dump your shocks over, which is a really good point, right? Even with 5 shocks up, the power lock, the special lock that Nimrod inflicts when you cross a bar of power still applies. So make sure you're over 20. And they said, it doesn't really matter what you do, 20 shocks in an SP2, it'll kill an R4 right away. So of course it doesn't, right? It stops at 6%. No big deal, just hang out and let it go. So 38, 3, and 2, not a great record. That's 3 deaths that I do consider are on me, but we'll get better. And that's it. Thanks.